then at his wife. I sighed and felt a little sick inside. The corneas of Brienne's eyes were cloudy, as if she had cataracts. Her mouth was wide open, the jaw slack. Errol looked pretty much the same. I thought of the family that had been executed in Silver Spring. What kind of killers were we dealing with? Why had they killed the Parkers? Brienne's blouse and bra had been removed. I didn't see them anywhere in the room. Her jeans were pulled down, exposing red panties and the tops of her thighs. I wondered what it meant. Had the killer carried Brienne's blouse away? Had someone else been in here since the murders? Had they played around with Brienne after she was dead? Was it the killer? Samson looked troubled and puzzled. Doesn't look like an overdose, he said. Too violent. These two suffered. John, I finally spoke in a quiet voice. I think they might have been poisoned. Maybe they were supposed to suffer. I made a call to Kyle Craig and told him the news. He had solved part of the Silver Spring robbery, but at least one killer was still out there. A rush autopsy confirmed my suspicion that Errol and Brienne Parker had been poisoned. The ingestion of a massive dose of anectine had caused rapid muscle contractions and led to cardiac arrest. Samson and I spent another couple of hours talking to the hangarounds, the homeless, the junkies living in the abandoned project buildings on First Avenue. No one admitted knowing Errol or Brienne. No one had seen any unusual visitors at the building where the couple had been hiding. I finally drifted home for a few hours of sleep. But I was restless in my bedroom. I got up and hobbled downstairs around 5. I was thinking about Christine and little Alex again. I opened the fridge and took out a Stewart's root beer, and then wandered out of the kitchen. I flicked the television on, then off. I played the piano in the sunroom, Crazy for You, and then some Debussy. I played Moonglow, which reminded me of the best times with Christine. Tears finally welled in my eyes, and I wiped them away. The floorboards squeaked. I heard you playing Claire the Loon. Very nicely, I might add. Nana was standing in the doorway, with a tray in her hands. There were 2 steaming coffee mugs on it. She pushed one of them toward me, and I took it. She then sat in the old wicker rocker near the piano, quietly sipping her brew. This instant, I kidded her. You find any instant coffee in my kitchen, I'll give you this house. I own the house, I reminded her. So you say, sonny boy. Sunrise concerto, Alex? What's the occasion? You remember Maria's stepbrother, Errol? Samson and I found his body in the First Avenue projects last night, I told her. Nana gently shook her head. That's so sad. Such a shame, Alex. They're a good family. Nice people. I have to go and tell the family this morning. Maybe that's why I'm up so early. Couldn't sleep. What else? Nana asked. She knew me so well. Talk to me, Alex. Tell you, Nana. It's Christine, I finally said. It's over between us. She doesn't want to see me. She told me. Made it official, Nana. I have tried everything in my power. I swear I have. She put down her coffee mug and slid one skinny arm around me. Well, then, you've done what you can, haven't you? What else can you do? She hasn't gotten over what happened in Bermuda, I whispered. She doesn't want to be with a homicide detective. She doesn't want to be with me.
The second bank robbery went off like a time bomb early that morning in the town of Church Falls, Virginia, about 9 miles outside Washington. The bank manager's house was a well-maintained colonial in a sweet neighborhood where the people seemed to genuinely like one another. There was evidence of well-loved children everywhere: Tyco toys, bikes, a basketball net, dueling swings, a makeshift lemonade stand. The mastermind had told his new crew what they would find and how they should proceed. Every move was carefully planned and rehearsed. The new crew was superior to the Parkers. It had taken half of the money from the Citibank job to interest them, but it was worth it. They called one another Mr. Red, Mr. White, Mr. Blue, and Ms. Green. They had long hair and looked like a heavy metal rock band, but they were an efficient team, very high-tech. Mr. Blue was at the First Union branch when it opened in downtown Church Falls. Ms. Green went there with him. They both had semi-automatic weapons in shoulder holsters underneath their windbreakers. Mr. Red and Mr. White went to the manager's house. Katie Bartlett heard the door chimes and thought it was the babysitter. When she opened the front door, she turned pale, and her legs buckled at the sight of an armed, masked man wearing a headset with a microphone jutting under his chin. Behind him was a second armed man. "Back inside! Move it!" Red screamed loudly through his mask. He held his gun inches from her face. Red and White herded the mother and her 3 small children into the family room on the main floor. The room featured a home entertainment center, and a Tybo video was playing. A picture window looked out on a small, still lake, but no one could see them unless they had a boat, and there were no boats on the lake that morning. "Now we're going to make a home movie," Mr. Red explained to Mrs. Bartlett and the kids. He talked to them in a matter-of-fact, almost friendly way. "You don't have to hurt anyone," Katie Bartlett told him. "We'll cooperate with you. Please, put the guns away. I beg you." "I hear you, Katie. But we have to show your husband that we're serious and that I'm actually here in the house with you and the kids." "They're 2, 3, and 4, the mother said. "They're just little babies. My babies." Mr. Red slid his gun inside his holster. There, I don't want to hurt the kids. I promise I don't." He was pleased with the job so far. Katie seemed smart, and the kids were well behaved. They were a nice family, the Bartletts, just as the mastermind had said. "I want you to be the one to put this duct tape on the kids' mouths," Mr. Red told Katie Bartlett. He handed over a thick roll of tape. "They won't make any noise, I promise," she said. "They're good kids." Mr. Red felt sorry for her. She was pretty and an okay lady. Mr. Red spoke directly to the kids. "This is duct tape, and we're going to play a game with it. It'll be cool," he said. 2 of the kids glared at him, but the 3-year-old grinned. "Duct tape?" "That's right, duct tape. Quack, 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 quack. Now Mommy's going to put the duct tape on everybody's mouth. Then we make a home movie for Daddy to see how you look." Somebody was going to be murdered in just a few minutes. It was 8:12. The Church Falls robbery was on the clock, and it couldn't be stopped. Ms. Green had a rapid-fire weapon aimed in the direction of 2 frightened women tellers. Both of them were in their mid to late 20s. Mr. Blue was already in the manager's office at the First Union branch office. He was explaining the rules of the game of truth or consequences to James Bartlett and his assistant manager. "Nobody has any panic buttons on them?" Mr. Blue asked in a fast, high-pitched voice that was intended to communicate that he was tense and maybe close to losing it. "That would be a serious mistake, and there can be no mistakes." "We don't have panic buttons," said the bank manager, who seemed eager to please. "You ever listen to the training tapes put out by the American Society for Industrial Security?" Blue asked. "No, I haven't," the bank manager answered with a nervous stutter. "I'm sorry." "Well, their #1 recommendation during a robbery is cooperation, so that no one gets hurt." The manager shook his head rapidly. "I agree with that. I hear you. I'm cooperating, sir." "You're a pretty smart guy for a bank manager. Everything I told you about your family being held as hostages is the absolute truth. Watch your computer screen," Mr. Blue said, and pointed with his gun. A film sequence came up, and the manager saw his wife putting black tape on the mouths of his 3 children. "Oh, God," he said to the ski-masked man in his office. "My family is everything to me." "We know," Blue said. He turned to the assistant manager. He pointed the gun at her. "You're not a hero, are you, Miss Collins?" She shook her head of soft red curls. "No, sir, I'm not. The bank's money is not my money. It isn't worth dying for. It isn't worth Mr. Bartlett's children dying for." Mr. Blue smiled under his mask. "You took the words right out of my mouth." He turned back to the manager. "I have children. You have children. "We don't want them to be fatherless," he said. It was the mastermind's line, and an effective one, he thought. "Let's get going." They hurried to the main vault, which had a dual combination and needed both Bartlett and his assistant manager. In less than 60 seconds, the vault was open. Mr. Blue then held up a silver metal device for all to see. It looked like a TV remote control. "This is a police scanner," he said. "If the police or the FBI are alerted and come our way, I'll know it as soon as they do. And then you two, and also the two tellers, die. Are there any trip alarms inside the vault?" The manager shook his head. "No, sir. There are no secret alarms. You have my word." Mr. Blue smiled again behind his mask. "Then let's go get my money. Move it." Blue had just about finished loading up the cash when his police scanner suddenly picked up an alert. "Robbery in progress at First Union Bank, downtown Church Falls." He swiveled toward James Bartlett and shot the bank manager dead. Then he turned and shot Ms. Collins through the forehead. Just the way it had been planned.
The siren on the roof of my car was screaming. I arrived at the First Union Bank in Church Falls, Virginia, almost the same time that Kyle Craig and his FBI team got there. A black helicopter was just settling into the mostly empty shopping mall parking area directly behind the bank. Kyle and 3 other agents climbed out of the chopper and headed toward me at a fast trot. All 4 wore blue FBI windbreakers, which meant the Bureau wanted the public to know the FBI was involved with the investigation. "You been inside the bank already?" Kyle huffed as he came jogging up to me. "I just got here myself. Let's go in together." "This is Senior Agent Betsy Cavalier," Kyle said, indicating a smallish woman with lustrous black hair and eyes almost as dark. She wore an oversized FBI windbreaker over a white T-shirt, khaki trousers, running shoes. She was probably in her mid-30s, intense-looking and also pretty, though certainly not glamorous. "This is the rest of the first team. Agents Michael Dodd and James Walsh," Kyle continued with the introductions. "This is Alex Cross. He's the VICAP liaison with the D.C. police. Alex found the bodies of Errol and Breanne Parker." There were quick, polite hellos and handshakes all around. Senior Agent Betsy Cavalier seemed to be sizing me up. Maybe it was because her boss and I were friends, or maybe because I was VICAP, the official liaison between the FBI and the Metro Police. Kyle took me by the elbow and steered me away from his agents. "If the original 2 bank robbers are dead, who the hell did this job?" Kyle asked as we walked past ribbons of yellow crime tape, snapping loudly in a crisp breeze from the southeast. The FBI ADIC, or Assistant Director in Charge, walked with me inside the bank lobby. My stomach fell. 2 female tellers were lying on the floor. They were dressed in dark blue business suits, now stained with their blood. Both were dead. Their head wounds indicated they had been shot at close range. "Executed. God damn it," Agent Cavalier said as we stopped at the bodies. An FBI crime scene unit immediately began videotaping the scene and taking still photographs. We headed toward the open bank vault. 2 more victims were inside the vault, a man and a woman. They had been shot several times. "This makes no goddamn sense to me," Kyle said. "Bank robbers don't usually kill anybody, not pros," Agent Cavalier spoke. "So why do this sick stunt?" "Was the family of the manager held hostage, as in the Silver Spring robbery?" I asked. Kyle looked my way, nodded. "Mother and 3 kids. We just got word on them. Thank God they were released. They weren't harmed." "So why were these 4 butchered and the family released? Where's the pattern?" "I didn't know yet. There might have been a screw-up here at the branch, if this is connected to the bank in Silver Spring." "We have to assume it is," said Agent Cavalier. "The father, nanny, and child were killed in Silver Spring because the manager was warned that the crew had to be out of the bank at a certain time or the hostages died. According to the video monitor at the bank, they missed by less than 30 seconds. As usual, Kyle had information the rest of us didn't. He shared it now. An alarm went to the police here in Church Falls. I think that's what prompted the 4 murders. We're trying to run down where the warning call came from." "How would the crew know the alarm went to the police?" I asked. "They probably had a police scanner," Agent Cavalier said. Kyle nodded. Agent Cavalier is very smart about bank robbers, he said.